Let's look how to make hot pink icing. Now, hot pink is a very specific color, and people think of it as different things. So I'm thinking this ice plant is probably closest, but this exuberant pink on the top is very red, but it is also good. That one on the left is too orange. I push that one aside. So I'm going to go for something kind of like this, but maybe a little bit more dark like that. There's something in that color range. So I'm going to start with deep pink. So if you have a pink food coloring, you might think that that's all you need, but to get a hot pink, you really need more than that. Okay, this one is very red. So this side over here, I'm going to have some red color on hand in case I need to mix that. And it's a strange thing, but purple works really well in hot pink. These are a little bit purpley, but it's not as red, so there is purple and red both in these. And because pink is red that's whitened out, that's how that's going to work. So I'm going to start with pink and just put a whole bunch of food coloring in there. That's a good amount for what I'm doing. And you're going to start with the pink base. I did make this icing a little stiffer than I normally would because I knew that I was going to be stirring it and adding food coloring to it, which will water it down a little bit. This is gel food coloring, so it's not not big a deal as far as watering it down. But as you're manipulating icing by stirring it, it does warm it up and it will change the consistency. So you have to be careful not to over manipulate your icing. And that's one of the problems with a lot of these color mixing videos is you don't know what kind of icing they're using. I'm using an American buttercream that is shortening and confectioner's sugar based mostly. So it's oil and sugar. So that pink works, but see, it's closer to the red over here than it is to the one on the left. So I'm going to take the purple and we're going to kind of blue it down a little bit. I am using a toothpick so that I can control how much I'm putting in. I'm just going to do a little at a time. Always do a little at a time. You can go back and add more, but if you put too much in to begin with, then it's going to be hard to come back and fix that because you would have to add more white icing or you'd have to add more pink of something that's a little lighter. And it's better just to work your way up. Start small and work your way up with the amounts of food coloring that you're putting in. And also make sure that you're really stirring this and scraping the bowl and scraping the spatula because see those streaks of purple in there? You don't want those to be lingering around in the bowl and getting on your cake or in the flowers that you're piping if you're using this to pipe. You want to make sure everything is incorporated really well. And so, give it time. And I have edited this so you're not seeing the full stirring process because you don't need to watch me stir, but it did take longer. So now this is very close to this, but it's not hot pink. See how dark that is? I do like that pink. It's somewhere between these two. It's probably closer to the ones at the top, really. But I'm going to take more purple. I'm putting more purple in. We're going to deepen it down a little bit. I do want to get it a little more blue. So the ones on the left, when we're looking at those color cards, they are a little more blue. The ones on the right were a little more red. I want to give this a good blue base. And then I'm probably going to add more pink. I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to add more pink, but I am going to add a little red to kind of even it out. So now we've got, that's a pretty purple pink. Like if you're looking at that, it's pretty purple, okay? And you can see the difference. Like if you look on the edge of the bowl there, on the top, kind of at 10 o'clock, there's a little bit of the regular pink that I didn't stir. It's different. So I'm going to add more pink, and you can just go crazy here. Add a lot, because the hot pink, you're going to get to a point where you add the pink color, and it doesn't change the color of the icing that much, just because it's saturated. And I am going to do the heating method, which I don't really like. I think it's taking a risk. You have to be very careful when you do that, but I will show you at the end the heating method. And that's just basically helping the icing to emulsify with the food coloring and darken the color a little bit. But if you make this icing ahead of time and just let it sit overnight or just let it sit on the counter for a few hours, it will get darker as the food coloring kind of blends in, it's a chemical thing. So it's oil and water, and you have to emulsify the two. You can also put the icing in a stand mixer and just run it slowly on the slowest setting and just let it go for a while. It will darken the icing. The most effective way without ruining your icing is to leave it sit out. Just leave it sitting out on the counter. It'll be fine, and it will get darker as it sits. And I will show you how the heating method works at the end of this, but it is a little risky for a few reasons, and I'll show you that there. So this is with more pink in it. See, it's getting darker. It's still not as dark as this one, but it's a lot closer. All right, so now I am going to take some red because that other color, that other hot pink color had some red in it. I'm putting in a lot of red here. I don't know what made me put in this much red, but okay, we'll just go with it. And again, make sure that you're stirring everything up so that there are not going to be any streaks of icing or any streaks of food coloring and icing, I guess. Once you are done mixing, you want to make sure that you have everything really well incorporated, because that is one thing that will ruin your cake faster than anything else, is putting icing on the cake and smoothing it out and having a big streak of food coloring that didn't get mixed in all over the side of your cake. And now you've got a bigger problem that is a lot harder to fix. So just make sure that you're really mixing this in, and see all those streaks of the red in there. You just have to keep going. Now this is turning into a nice pink. I would not call this hot pink personally, but it is turning into a really nice pink color. And see how much more red it is now than it was, because I put the red in there, and that kind of counteracts, it throws the balance of the color over toward the red side as opposed to purple. But now I'm going to put some more purple in, because why not? I mean, look, if you're mixing color and you're not heating anything at this point, you can just go ahead and do this and start, like I said, start out with your icing a little stiffer than you need. And then if you heat it up as you're stirring it, because it will heat as you're stirring it, the friction makes it heat. And it's not like putting it on a flame, but it will get a little warmer and it will melt. And just being out at room temperature too. But if you're stirring it and you're adding the color in, you can do this as long as you need to. And if you make the icing a little stiffer to begin with, then any liquid that you're adding to it is going to be fine. So now we're back to a little bit. See, it's still not as bright as that, but I think this is an okay pink. I wouldn't call this hot pink. So let's add some more pink. And if you don't have pink food coloring, hot pink is going to be really hard to get, because when you put red into white icing, it doesn't really make pink. It's a strange thing. It might make a kind of an orangey pink. It's not going to make this color pink. So you need to actually get pink food coloring to start, but you don't have to have every single different food coloring in the world if you just have these basic colors. So, because so far I just have pink, red, and purple in this, and it's working just fine. And once I get all of this pink mixed in, I think at this point I'm going to do the heating thing, because I was curious about this. I've done the heating, and this is where you put the icing in the microwave. I didn't want to put all of it in there because I've done it before, and depending on what type of icing it is, it will melt the icing or it will crystallize the sugar and cook it. And then you end up with just crystallized sugar in your icing and it's not smooth. So if I was going to do a hot pink and that's what I came up with, I think that would be okay. See, it's closer. It's still not as blue as that ice plant color there, but I think if I'm just looking at it on its own, that would be okay. I might want to add more pink to it, but right now I'm going to go in and do the microwave thing to see what happens. And see, it's a little melted, but see, as soon as I start stirring it, the inside has crystallized to a certain extent. It's not tremendously bad. I can stir it, but see, the texture is different. So if you're going to try the microwave method to deepen food coloring colors, be really careful, because it can really ruin your icing. And then all this icing that you have made and have been coloring and working with, it can ruin your icing. So you need to watch out and try to do other methods before you do the microwave. I heard somebody say that they put the food coloring in the microwave to heat the food coloring up, and that worked. And again, this is just emulsification. It's just different ways to get that food coloring spread through the oily icing, because food coloring is water-based. And it's chemicals. So this did make it a little bit darker, though. I'm not sure if the difference between the two is too obvious here, but I got some on the spatula and you can see it better. See, the one that is heated was on the right, so it is a little bit darker. It might be worth doing, but be very careful. Be very careful if you put it in the microwave, and otherwise you can probably just get a good hot pink with the food coloring on its own.